welcome back to the On the Ball podcast. This is another episode of the greatest podcast in Australian history. We're here again to chat about AFL. First AFL one in 2 weeks, I think. We didn't do one last week, and then the two before that were, a bit different. It wasn't all three of us, so we're back finally as a trio. Thanks, boys, for holding the fort down a little bit. I know Rowie did one by himself, and you boys did one without me as well while I got my exams done and went to Tassie and stuff like that. But we're back now, and we will be doing weekly episodes for the rest of the year, I assume, unless something goes horribly wrong. But I don't. Do we need to introduce you boys? No, yeah, we can. You can say how you're doing when we get into the winners and losers. So winners and losers. Let's get straight into it. Rowie, who were the first winners, and how are you going?
I'm going all right, mate. It's good to be back after a bit of a week break. Just went off and enjoyed the sunshine away from the podcast. It was good to have a bit of time to myself over the break. I'm recovering from uni as well and a potentially failed exam, so sort of spent a bit of time and attention to myself. But anyway, so the first winner was obviously Gold Coast against the Tigers. That was probably the upset of the year. It was. Look, all fans of AFL, apart from Richard fans, were benefiting from this. It was awesome to see, especially the likes of Touk Miller, who was just running around. Is actually everyone's favourite player now. It's awesome to see him get some recognition because he's been a pretty good player for a while, but now he's turned into an absolute bull. I think he's probably top 5 mids in the comp right now. So amassed 36 touches, 7 marks, 7 tackles, and I remember he was on about 6 touches in the first minute. He's an absolute machine, but yeah, in general, Gold Coast obviously have had their travelling woes in the past, or just about their entire lifetime of the AFL. So it was good to see them chalk up a victory against a similar crowd that would get a Metricon at Marvel. But it's especially against the reigning premiers. It was awesome, and for all fans of the AFL to see that happen, show that Richmond are well and truly mortal again. So I've got no doubt the Tigers are going to bounce back in some form of way, but it was great to see Gold Coast get on the winning list. Couple of others I'm going to mention: GWS against the D's. I think a few might have seen this as a potential upset, but most people went the D's way. But it was great to see the Giants get up, considering they lost to Hawthorn the week before that at the G. So proved that they can play there indeed, contradicting themselves from that 2019 grand final. But it was great to see that the D's aren't immortal, as Betty thought at the start of the year when they were lossless, if that's a word. But yeah, it's great to see that all teams in this top 8 are relatively even. Anyone can beat anyone on any given date, any given ground. So it was awesome to see the Giants there. Josh Kelly amassing a huge game there in terms of 29 touches, 7 tackles and a goal. Probably the main stat hit of that game. And the other big winner was obviously the Swans. Over 90-point victors over the Eagles. That was down at GMHBA. That was ridiculous. To be honest, I didn't see that coming. I did tip the Swans. I think I was on the Eagles till the last minute, but I thought Swans are probably in a bit better form. Eagles are a bit up and down, so I'll back the Swans, even though on paper it's still a bit hard to believe that they're actually as good as they are. But they just play with such confidence, and I can't remember seeing a team apart from the Richmond that we all know in the last sort of 4 or 5 years play with such confidence. And I mean, they're turning all these sort of B-grade players into guys that contribute everywhere around the ground. You know, the players like the Sam Wicks, George Hewitts, even guys coming in like Joel Amati, kicked 2 and contributed in the ruck and had 12 touches. So not to mention the likes of, the consistent performance of Mills and Franklin and all them and our favourite Tom Hickey. So, yeah, the Swans were definitely a winner for mine. Touch on the Eagles and the losers because they're definitely in there. But, just the way the Swans were able to go about it, absolutely kill another member of that top 8 and show that they're definitely a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, 100%. They were my 3 written down as well. Pilch, how are you going, mate? And do you have any other winners you want to add?
Yeah, good. Thanks, mate. 3 absolutely elite results that Rowie just touched on there. Couldn't ask for a better week of footy, to be honest, as a Port supporter especially. From all reports, our man Kelly Clarkson was absolutely huge in the GWS game. I think he got 10 coaches' votes and pretty much put the side on his back. I'll quickly just give my Port boys a mention. Emotional, big occasion for the Hawks. To be honest, they didn't really turn up, even though they should have. But Port came down away from home, won comfortably, and Zach Butters is returning this week for the Melbourne game. So was very pleased with this week.
A premiership contender beating a bottom two team by 30, but that's all right. I appreciate it. I saw your antics on Twitter. Go check them out if you haven't. You were, I thought it was quite unnecessary, but you were ripping into Hawthorn. Fair enough, I guess. What your best mate
they
is
deserved
a
it,
Hawthorn
mate.
fan, but yeah, fair enough. Strange man. Any losers you want to touch on, Pilch?
Yeah, so Richmond and West Coast, especially, two massive losers. It's getting to the point now where Richmond are in serious danger of not making the 8. I know Hamish has had them at like a 70% chance to win the flag all year and probably still does, but they are seriously struggling at the moment and they're going to have to turn something around. And then West Coast, one of my most disliked teams in the comp, I absolutely loved seeing them lose by 100, and hopefully they don't make the 8, but we'll see what happens when they get back to Optus. They'll probably win every game at Optus.
Yeah, I'd happily see them miss out over GWS or Freo, but not sure if it will happen, but we'll get to your top 8 predictions in a sec. Yeah, I don't think my Richmond thing was ever at 70%, but yeah, it was definitely still...
More or less, mate.
It was definitely still the favourite till last week. I think this is the first week where I'll concede that they're probably into about third favouritism for me now, but yeah. All right, Rohi, any losers, or do you want to touch on those losers more?
No, Pilch summed it up pretty nicely there. I think the Tigers, look, I still, honestly, it's like my super coach team. I never, ever, ever can completely rule someone out from, being a good player until I don't get them in, and then they obviously explode. And I have a feeling Richmond's going to do the same. If once I write them off, they're going to, obviously make finals. They're going to be their Richmond selves, but yeah, like obviously they're a big loser this week, and this is the first week that I think all eyes are on them now. The last few weeks we thought, this usually happens during the Richmond year, blah blah. They have a few losses, but this one was different. I think it's fair to say. So all eyes will be on them this week against the Pies. That'll be a huge match. And obviously, yeah, West Coast was a big loser this week. Just scoring 26 as a top 8 team against a team that on paper you are better than. I think on paper no one's really going to argue with that. And at a neutral venue, you can't be losing by that much. At a neutral venue against a team that you're probably better than on paper, but another big loser, actually, just to quickly touch on them, was Freo. I actually went to this game, Freo-Carlton. Obviously, a very winnable game for them. If they wanted to be making finals, they needed to win this one. Carlton, look, they could have easily beaten them. It got to that last quarter, and it just got to the point where Freo just didn't look like scoring. So at that point, I knew, look, Carlton have got this in the bag. Luckily, their fans haven't all sort of come out and said they're making finals, because that's what they usually do when they win. But yeah, it's just another disappointing result for them. It happens a lot. It's happening more and more recently now for them, and it is getting to the time when they do have to start winning these sort of close games against likewise opposition. So yeah, another disappointing result for them. Hopefully they can bounce back, but it looks like their season's probably done. They probably won't make finals now. And next season, we're going to have to be expecting some bigger things from them, or else a few more eyes are going to be on them.
Yeah, I was pretty shattered with that result. I think I had an awful week in tipping now that we're going through these results. Like, I reckon I would have been lucky to get 4, but yeah, I also want to touch on Melbourne. Losing to GWS. I know GWS are a pretty solid team. I'd say they're now in the 8, I believe. But before, when the top 8 had been the same for like 6 weeks there, they were the best of the rest, in my opinion. But I think Melbourne now, if you're a top 4 team in finals, you 100% want them. Like, if you're another top 4 team, I just think they're by far the easiest matchup in finals. And we've been joking about it for a long time that they've got straight sets written all over them. And I feel like some of their results in the last month are sort of suggesting that's going to be very, very likely. I don't know how you would feel, Pilch, if Port rolled into them in the second week of finals, but I'd probably fancy my chances against them personally.
Just saying, I talked about this a few weeks ago I called it before everyone. I said that Adelaide would upset them, and I copped an absolute ear bashing at 21st from Moz and all them. But no, I just like to say I predicted this, not downfall, but I predicted this sort of coming back down to earth, and yeah.
Yeah, well predicted.
I'll sign the autographs later, but yeah, carry on.
Yeah, so I think we've touched on most of the winners and losers there. There was a couple other games that don't really need to touch on. Well done to the Saints, I guess, Rowie. Got the job done.
Turns a good win into a shit win, but yeah.
Only like a win outside the 8, aren't you now? That's good.
Yeah, if we'd won that Adelaide match and that I mean, you can say this about every team. If you won this, but yeah, if we'd won that Adelaide and Sydney, both of those ones we should have won, we'd be in there. But yeah, we've got a very hard fixture coming up. There's no point even mentioning the word finals. It's not going to happen. But next year,
yeah, nice little attempt at the reverse jinx.
Yeah, fingers crossed. But yeah. That looks like the ditching the hoodies helping, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, don't put that back on.
Nah.
All right, predicted top 8 time, boys. We'll start with you, Rowie. Who have you got in your top 8?
Well, yeah, I gave the top 8 a rest a couple of weeks ago because I just want to have a week or two to restart because it seemed like I just sort of kept on doing the same thing over and over again, switching one another. But I'm going to lock in the Dogs at the top, followed by the Lions in a close second. I think the Lions will leapfrog the D's. I think their fixture's very easy, the Lions. I don't think they'll get... I think they need an extra 2 wins to overtake the Dogs. I don't think they'll get that. So I think... I reckon they might finish on the same amount of points, the Dogs and the Lions, but I'll have the Dogs finish on top. I'll have the D's in at third. So there'll be a Lions D's qualifying final at the Gabba. Total smashing that, I reckon. Cats in at fourth. Unfortunately, Pilcher got Port in at fifth. Sydney in at sixth, lining up against West Coast again, but this time at the SCG. That could be 200 points. And then like I said, I'm not writing them off until I see them out of the 8 come the end of round 23. So I'm going to still have Richmond in there. I still think I just can't put Richmond out of the 8 when they've got Dusty, they've got Lynch, Rewald, they've got Grimes, they've got Floss, they've got all these guys obviously that have all won premierships. I'm not putting them out of the 8. Until literally, even if they're a game and 40% behind, the 8th before round 23, I'm still going to have them in at 8th. I just can't see them missing until they are out. So I'm going to leave them in at 8th, but would love to see them slip out.
Yeah, I wouldn't write them off just yet. And I tell you what, I'd be bricking it as a Port fan coming up against the Tigers in week 1
in an elimination final. Yeah,
geez, that would not be fun, especially when Sydney and West Coast are chilling in the other one. Pilch, who's your top 8, mate?
Yep, so I've also got the Dogs in at first. They're already first, and they look like the most dangerous team in it. Brizzy second as well. Geelong third, above Melbourne. I think Melbourne are dangerous because they're 4-0 against top 5 teams, I believe, which is actually pretty insane. But they're just they're still inconsistent, prone to dropping games to shit teams. Port 5th. I was tempted to chuck them at first, but I didn't want to get roasted, so I put them at 5th. Swanee 6th, Richmond 7th, and then I've actually got GWS in at 8th over the Eagles. I've gone with my heart over my head on that one. But I think they're hitting form, and they've done it before, so would not be surprised.
Yeah, that would make up for some spicy second week finals action, I reckon, because I'd be back in Richmond over the Swannies, and I'll be back in Port over the Giants. So, that's got me tell you. I hope Lions come up against the Cats in week 1. I reckon that would be a sick match at the Gabba.
I reckon there's a solid chance.
Yeah, I feel like Geelong playing a lot of really, really good games, but yeah, no. To be fair, probably being a little bit harsh on Melbourne, but you are right. This week's going to be a big test, I have to say. If they beat Port and Adelaide, can't really keep slandering them. So it'll be interesting to see how they go. All right, time for my favourite part of the episode. Well, the only part where I really share my thoughts. Redrafting time, boys. We're down to the 2011 draft. We're getting to some end of career type stuff here, lads. We've probably only got a few more years. Well, I've probably only got a few more seasons in me before I have to start calling it quits. But I think I'll start us off as usual, and you boys can correct my blunders. I will say I've got two blokes who were like 1 year mature, and I've just included them. So I think, well, I'll say it when I get to it because I don't want to spoil it. So my honourable mentions go. This was a great draft, by the way. Excited to see your orders. Honourable mentions go to Canelio, Seb Ross, and Jared Witts, who was one of those 1 year mature players. All three very, very solid club players, but weren't good enough to make this pretty esteemed list for me. Number 10, quite comfortably the worst player on the list, I'd have to say, but his list of achievements is pretty impressive. Brendan Ellis, 2 premierships with the Tigers. He came second in a Richmond BNF. I feel like he's gone missing at Gold Coast, but he's like still elite, but it's just because he's at the Gold Coast Suns. No one talks about him, but like pretty sure he was top 5 in their BNF this year and last year, and he's had some really good games this year. So he's my number 10. He kind of came out of the blocks as a youngster, Brandon Ellis. Stagnated a little bit throughout the dominant phases, but was still a very good part of that premiership side. Number 9, I've got Taylor Adams. I think he's a bit of an unsung hero when Collingwood were a top 4 side and, lost that granny and stuff like that. They should have won a premiership in that era, but they fucked it. And he got an All-Australian last year, I believe, won a Collingwood best and fairest in and around that time. So, unfortunately hasn't had much luck with injuries this year and a few years prior to last season. But, hopefully he can play some injury-free footy soon and get back to his best form. Number 8, I've got Sam Doherty. This was, for me, he was a hard one to place. He's obviously missed a couple seasons through injury, but he's won a Carlton best and fairest, and he's also been an All-Australian player. Still got a fair few years ahead of him as well, but it's going to be interesting to see how the rest of his career fares because they've obviously got some gun halfbacks now, so he's sort of been shifted to a different position, so I'll be interested to see where he ends up on the ground. Number 7, this was another hard one to position I found. Chad Wingard came out of the blocks in his career as an absolute weapon. And he's been decent at Hawthorn, but certainly hasn't been the player he once was. Sort of a change of roles, I guess. But yeah, he's a bit more mythical these days. I don't really know how he's going in his life. But 2 All-Australians in his career, 1 Port best and fairest as well as a very, very young player. So yeah, his achievements so far deserve a top 10 spot, but in terms of current ability and potential, probably limits his ability to be a top 5 candidate. Number 6, this is one of my other players who were a year mature. He was tough for me. At one point I had him at number 3, and then I looked at the guys below him and I thought he just hadn't racked up enough achievements and maybe hadn't played enough games, but that's Nick Haynes, one of the best tall defenders going around in the league right now. He made an All-Australian appearance. And yeah, I just think hopefully in a couple of years, I think this GWS defence has the makings of one of the best defences in the competition. They've got a lot of young talent. He can sort of be an experienced member there, but I think he's already like 29, so not sure how long he has left, and his hammies and stuff are starting to challenge him, so we'll see how he ages. Number 5, I've got Elliot Yeo. He's won a premiership with West Coast, also won the West Coast best and fairest that year. 2 All-Australian appearances, 1 other West Coast BNF as well. He's just been a very, very solid player throughout his career, and, well, hopefully he can be a big reason why they make a late season sort of run at finals this year. Number 4, weird guy to play, similar to Chad Wingard. A lot of his success was early in his career, but I've got Brad Hill. Controversial because he's nowhere near the player that like Yo Haynes are right now, but he did win 3 premierships at Hawthorn. He also won a Freo best and fairest, so I thought he did deserve his spot. And although right now his performances are heavily criticised every now and then, I just think his body of work is good enough to be a number 4 pick. Then the top 3 for me were a fair way above the rest. I've got Tom Mitchell at number 3. He's obviously won 1 Brownlow medal, 2 All-Australians. He's had a Players Association Player of the Year, 2 Hawthorn best and fairest. He's absolute beast. He was killing it late in his Sydney career as a bit of a tagger, and then he went to Hawthorn and was given the right to find his own footy, and his impact is questioned at times, but he has an unbelievable knack to find it, and he's been a pretty important cog in that Hawthorn midfield in the last few years. Number 2, controversial. I've got Lachie Neale. He's got 1 Brownlow medal under the belt, 2 Brizzy Best and Fairest, a coach's Player of the Year, which is a pretty big award if the coaches think highly of you. A Players Association Player of the Year and 2 All Australians. Was an absolute beast back in his days at Freo, but was sort of under the shadow of a few of the big dogs there, like Mundy and Fife and stuff. And then he transitioned over to Brizzy and he was the main man. And now everyone probably sees how good of a player he is. He's obviously improved since then as well, but hopefully he'll be able to add a premiership to his list of achievements in the next few years. And my number 1, I don't know if people would have him this high because his achievements aren't as impressive, but for me right now, he's a top 5 player in the competition. I don't think there's many players, if you take him out of their... not many players have as much impact on their side as this man does. Toby Green, he's only got the 1 All-Australian appearance and he's only got the 1 club best and fairest. But as I mentioned, in terms of current ability right now, for me, he's the best player in this list. And I can't see why I can't do that in the next 3 or 4 years as well. And also, as I was talking to you boys before we came on air, did not know he was an absolute beast inside midfielder when he came into the league, which was that was news to me. He was like the top disposal winner in their inaugural season as a rookie or something like that. It was pretty strange, but yeah, he's an absolute gun up in the forward line, and yeah, he's a freak, one of my favourite players. So not everyone's consensus number 1, I'd assume, but for me, he's the number 1. Pilch, what's your top 10, mate?
Mine is quite different actually. I will say before we start that I've taken team success less into account for this, and I've kind of just gone who I think is the most valuable top 10 players or most talented. So at number 10, I've got Rowi's man, Seb Ross. A lot of the players on this list I feel like peaked pretty early. There's quite a few of them, and he was one. Used to be a very good midfielder. Now he just kind of does his job. I don't really know much about him, to be honest, but I know that he was a very good player and still is a good player for the Saints. Number 9, I've done the same as you, Cork. Well, I've included him, and that's Jared Witts. I know he was a mature age draft pick, but he's been an absolute weapon of a ruckman, arguably a top 5 ruckman over the last few years, and also a huge leader for the Suns. Number 8, Stephen Cornelio. Cops a bit of criticism, but the man is a gun, has been for quite a few years. Huge ball-winning ability and can kick goals too. Number 7, Sam Doherty. Unlucky with injuries, but was probably the best halfback flanker in the comp a few years back, and huge leader as well. Provides the Blues with some valuable experience down back. Number 6, Taylor Adams. I think this bloke's pretty underrated. Gun midfielder. And, just talented player. Number 5, very similar to Taylor Adams, but I've got Elliot Yao. To be honest, you could put them 5 or 6, however you want. They're pretty similar, but Yo is probably a bit more versatile, and he does have the premiership under his belt. Number 4, slightly biased, but arguably the most talented player in this draft, Chad Wingard. He came onto the scene. He was just an absolute weapon for a good 4 or 5 years, and then just made the stupidest decision of his life, went to Hawthorn, became an absolute myth, just dropped off the boil. He's still a very good player and probably underrated because he's at Hawthorn, but he was an absolute freak at Port, and he was just starting to move into the midfield before he left. So, dumb decision by Chatty, but gun player. Number 3, I've got Toby Green. I will say there's definitely a tier break. The top 3 are a lot better than the 4 to 10, but I've got Green at 3, Tom Mitchell at 2, and Lachie Neale at 1.
Yeah, very, very fair list there, mate. Surely Chatty's looks have been taken into account there as well. He's probably broken a fair few hearts across two cities in his life. So,
Multiple per night, mate.
all right, Rosif, interested to hear your 10, mate.
Right, yeah, I'll kick it off with a few honourable mentions. So Jared Witts, Brandon Ellis, Sevi Ross, couple of premiership players there. Joel Hamling as well as a premiership player. Obviously, a bit of a myth there. Jack Nunes after the Siren Specialist and Jed Buse just chilling there. But we'll kick it off. Number 10, I've got Stephen Cornelio. He's one of two players in this top 10 that hasn't made an All-Australian, but has obviously been a very consistent contributor for them in GWS's lifetime, obviously captain at the moment. So he'll fit in nicely there, but everyone else ahead of him just has better resumes and I think just slightly better players. Number 9, Taylor Adams, made the All-Australian year last year. I actually forgot about that. Also one of best and fairest, but also most importantly, I think our best finals player in 2018. Obviously, the year they just missed out on that premiership. So if only for maybe the umpire had called that blocking decision against, I think it was Liam Ryan on May night and all that, and Adams, I think, would be higher on this list. But in saying that, obviously, it was a very strong reason why they made it that far. Number 8, Nick Haynes, obviously a gun, made an All-Australian last year, also GWS's best and fairest, just a huge inset player, very important for them down back, and hopefully continues to play down there, given I've just brought him into the Supercoach. Number 7, Doherty, obviously started at Brisbane, hadn't done much, but moved over to Carlton, All-Australian, best and fairest, Carlton co-captain. Nothing more really needs to be said. Just one of those players that Carlton fans can rely on, and there's not many players Carlton fans can rely on, but he's certainly one of them. So that he's obviously very much loved down there, and I know many Blues fans really appreciate the work he does. Number 6, Brad Hill, the other player on this list that hasn't actually made an All-Australian team, but has got 3 premiership medals around his neck, is the most of any player on this list. Has also won a BNF at Freo. He's obviously not, he's got some attributes that just about no one else in the league has, or at least he did. Obviously, lightning quick down that wing, huge stamina, and an elite kick. He's obviously been questioned this year, but I think he's done enough in his career to earn that number 6 spot. Now, at number 5, I've actually got Chad Wingard. Obviously, with Gunn at Port, and if he had stayed there, would have been higher up on that list. Obviously, hugely talented, 2 All-Australians and a BNF, and also led Port's goal kicking twice. So was obviously a huge player as a junior, also highlighted by his awarding of the Gavin Wanganeen medal, best, I think, junior player at Port Adelaide in that season. But however, at number 4, I'm actually got a different top 3 to you boys. At number 4, Toby Green's actually made it in here. Just obviously the lack of the resume and hasn't won a Brownlow or a premiership. So he's unfortunately going to stick there. Obviously, he had his injury troubles and suspension troubles. It's difficult for him to play 20 games in a season. However, I 100% agree with you when I say that he is obviously their most valuable player, but one of the most valued players at their respective club in the competition, if that makes sense. I think he's the one player that GWS can't really do without. If they play finals, they're going to need him in there. So he's got that uncanny ability to just make them better. And he is one of the best players to watch in the comp. However, at number 3, I'm actually going to have Elliot Yeo. He's obviously a beast midfielder. He's got pace, he's got tackling ability, he's got ball-winning ability and goal-kicking ability. He's made the All-Australian team twice. He's won 2 BNFs, but also, most importantly, I'd argue, was a pivotal role in that Eagles premiership and the finals leading up to it. He's obviously an absolute animal. Kicked that awesome goal, I think, from about 45, 50 out in a pivotal role of the game. Racked up 19, 20 touches. Gave away 5 free kicks, so it's kind of put a damper on his performance that day. But if not for that and maybe a couple more touches, would maybe have been in contention for the best on ground. But nonetheless, I think he's an absolute awesome midfielder. He's got a few more traits that other A-grade midfielders don't have, hence why I'm going to keep him in there. Number 2, I've got Tom Mitchell. For me, if you win a Brownlow, you're automatically up there. So Titch's Brownlow, also the awarding of the Lee Matthews Trophy, so best player in the year he won it, 2 All-Australians and 2 BNFs, sort of speak for themselves. Obviously, his impact is questioned, but I think people don't like people's definitely undervalue ball winning ability. People do overvalue it, but also undervalue it. So yeah, if you can, there's not many people that can go around and win 50 touches if they try really hard. So Titch for that reason's in there. But obviously, number one, I've got Lockie Neal. Obviously, don't even need to list off the amount of achievements he's got, apart from the fact he's won 4 BNFs and 2 All-Australians and a Brownlow. So he's obviously, like, it was great to have another draft where the best player comes after pick 50. So that was a nice little surprise. But yeah, definitely the best player of this draft, Lockie Neal. Has been a gun at both teams, not just one or the other, like a few players on this list. So probably the most consistent performer, and yeah, just definitely the best player.
Yeah, as you both just mentioned, we are getting into the stage where there's some blokes who've had like a gun 4 or 5 years and then they've turned shit. So it's kind of hard to judge those blokes. But yeah, I have to say Bradley Hill being at number 4 is he's probably a lucky man there. But yeah, probably overvalued the 3 prems, but he can cop. Road question, Rowie. You just got me thinking there with the ball winning ability. How many touches would Rory Laird have for the Haileybury Thirds football team?
For the Haileybury Thirds football team?
Like, because me and Brett were talking about this in Tasmania. Is there a limit of how many you can have? I think it's almost impossible to have more than like 60. But do you reckon he could legit have 100?
I reckon he could. In a Thirds team, I reckon, yeah. If you can rack up 50, like, look, Laird can rack up 40 easily. If you can do that against, AFL players, you can easily get an extra, 20, 30, 40 cheapies, I reckon, against
an extra 60.
Yeah, exactly. Against basically kids, and he'd just run everyone off their feet. So yeah,
I reckon if you go in with the Tom Rockcliffe mindset and literally set out just to get as many touches as you can, then I reckon he'd be a sniff for it.
I reckon he'd crack 100.
But if he's trying to actually impact the game, then he probably wouldn't have 100. But.
Yeah, I guess you could like run past every free kick and just get the nut.
That's a thing. It'd be so difficult to tackle.
It'd be pretty hard to prevent him getting the nut. And he'd like be way fitter than everyone as well. Yeah, I don't know. I was just thinking about this in the car. In Tassie, as you do.
If you chuck him in a Resi's ones game, it's obviously different. But
bearing in mind,
obviously dominate. But yeah, I think in a Thirds game, he'd get over 100.
Yeah.
Bearing in mind, there's 3,300 points to go around, and there won't be any fourth quarter scaling because it'll be a blowout. Would Laird get 300 Supercoach?
Yes.
Yeah, because
I reckon he would. Yeah.
Well, I reckon he could turn every touch into a goal.
Yeah.
In Thirds footy, I think he could
running
just actually physically run through it.
Touch.
Yeah, I think any like 25-year-old professional athlete could run through a Thirds team. Like, I think you'd have to gang tackle like 3 in the tackle or something. I don't know.
Dangerfield. Imagine if it was Dangerfield.
Oh, yeah, no one's tackling him. Maybe Brownie would have a crack, but...
and he'd get bulldozed.
Yeah, there's probably been a few name drops in the last minute that if you don't know us, you have no idea who we're talking about. But
Coop Nolan would start a fight with Rory Laird, I reckon.
Yeah, Coop would start a fight with Nolan. I was gonna ask how many AFL players do you need to like turn my footy team into a winning team, but you guys don't know how bad we are, so maybe we'll save that chat for another day. But do you reckon 1? I reckon 3.
It depends who you pick.
I reckon a ruckman, inside mid, key forward.
I reckon just Dixon.
Just Charlie Dixon.
Dixon.
Bro, we don't get the ball there, bro.
You need someone to get it up there, and then you just...
Grenda's an AFL level fullback, so we've got the defence sorted. We just need
All you need is danger. You just get it in the middle. He sprints down and kicks it from 50.
Yeah, I reckon a ruckman would have BOP, though, because like they could just tap it to themselves. And
Gawny.
Yeah. Anyway, that's absolute dribble from the boys. But time for some Supercoach chat. And I have to say, boys, I haven't checked my Supercoach squad. I don't want to know it. I don't want to know.
I'll let you know.
No, I don't want to know.
I know what you got, mate.
So I saw Coleman Jones got 5 and Jack Buckley got 0. And I saw the Jack Buckley 0 and said, I'll check.
I thought you traded Buckley.
Nah, because I decided I want my 5 injury trades, not 3. So I held him. Yeah. So I've decided I'm not checking till tomorrow afternoon. So that's going to be a disgusting surprise because I know I did shit, but I don't want to know. Okay, so there's not going to be any Supercoach chat about me this week, but because all I know is I had those two scores and I'm absolutely cut about it. 5 points from 2 players. It's not a good start to the week, but boys, how'd you do? Because I haven't opened Supercoach, so I'm actually interested to hear how you go. I know Pilch did well. Assuming you went well, Rowie. How'd you go?
No, I did shit.
Really?
Pilch gave me an absolute bath in one of the leagues. Look, it all started with a Coleman Jones 5 and then a captaining Bontempelli for 83.
Also did that.
Just a few very shit 60s as well. Carl Langford is going to go on my never again list. Most hated player in the comp. Caleb Daniel, an inclusion a few weeks ago, 68. And then to top it all off, I had Cody's 115 on the bench when I could have had him on field for Coleman Jones's 5. So lost a fair amount of points. Luckily, didn't drop too much in rank. I dropped 732, but still just outside the top 2,000. But brought in Bailey Dale and Nick Haynes for Doherty and the other force trade. I can't remember, but Dale nicely got 111 for me. So hopefully you can continue that for the rest of the year. But it didn't go superbly. But keen to bounce back, hopefully. But yeah, season's well and truly done in terms of trying to get the highest rank I can. At least trying to get into that sort of top 1,000. That dream's well and truly done. 4 trades left. That's just not going to last. But we'll see how we go. Hopefully bench can keep on playing. Still at the likes of Highmore, Bianco, Newcomb, and Waterman and all that. So hopefully they can continue to chalk up some games and hopefully can upgrade. My last upgrade will be Waitman to hopefully around a 500k forward in a few weeks' time just before finals. But I assume I'm going to have about 8 long-term injuries come over the next few weeks. So that probably won't happen, but we'll see how we go.
Yeah, you're still a very good chance to win our league. I know that for sure, apart from Hoodie.
Hoodie's flying.
Yeah, Hoodie's a freak team. But I think you're like 2,600 or something. But apart from him, you're the next best bet. Pilch, how'd you go, mate? Heard you had a good week.
Yeah, had a good week. Scored 2-5-2-3, back into the top 1,000. I got Dangerfield, which was huge. That seemed to be an absolutely massive just moment in the general Supercoach season for everyone. I kept Coleman Jones, but luckily loopholed him, so he was on the bench. But I did burn my last 2 trades last week, so I'm full premium, but 0 trades left. Already got a sniff of some injuries with Lockie Neal. I had him on the bench this week, and Travis Boak went in for some scans, but I think he's playing. But yeah, basically, I'm just praying I don't get injuries. I'm trying to go huge these next couple of weeks, and then hopefully get high enough that I don't drop too much when my players start going down. So I'm fucked for league, but we'll try and cling on to the top 1,000 ranking. We'll see how we go.
I like it. Desperate play. I have to say, I am your mate, so I want to see you do well. But as someone who has 5 trades left, I need some primo injuries. Like I need, I don't know who, but I just need a seriously common player to go down. Because otherwise, my decision to hold my 2 trades last week was
Callum Mills, please.
Yeah,
I've had him since the start. No one else has him.
Or Parish or Steele.
I fucking love him.
Actually, no, not Steele, but yeah, someone like that.
Yeah, so I don't know what's happening with my team. I haven't checked it yet, so we'll suss tomorrow. Excited to do the research though tomorrow.
Do you want me to tell you what you got, mate?
Is it above 2,000?
Nah.
Yeah, right.
I don't think so. I can't really remember.
Don't tell me then.
I'll have a quick look for you, Ham.
If it's not above 2,000, don't tell me. Yeah, so the story is, so the reason I copped my CCJ score on is because I have Waterman and Briggs in my forward line bench, and I was out for dinner before my little brother's performance on Thursday night, so I was under the belief. I knew Briggs was a chance of being dropped, but at this moment, I thought they were both playing, and then by the time I had the opportunity to check my phone, obviously the Richmond game was underway, so CCJ was locked and loaded on that field. Otherwise, I could have easily avoided him, but to be honest, Waterman only got like 30, so wouldn't have made much difference. But yeah, the Jack Buckley thing, obviously it's my fault for still having him, but pretty stiff, 2 coppers 0. Apparently he's actually good in real life. Like some of the headlines have been like rising star defender and all this stuff. So proud of him for being good, but yeah, not doing much for my super coach. But yeah, the dream's pretty much all but gone. I think I'm still only a win outside the top 8, but I think my percentage is fucked now. So probably going to need 2 wins. And how many rounds till finals? 4?
I have a feeling, it's about 3 or 4, yeah.
I think might be just 3.
Might be just 3,
okay.
yeah.
So my only chance is if there's some big injuries to some common players. And hopefully a lot of people have burnt their trades. But after asking the boys last week, it seems like everyone's still got trades as well. So I'm not sure how they've sorceried that, but fair play to them. Anyway, moving on to the Week 12 preview. So we did this the other week. I can't remember if you boys did. I think you boys did it. I'm not sure if Rowie did it. But what we'll do is we'll do the tipping, but with the line in play. So I've got them here in front of me, so I'll get your boys' answers. I'll just read out the matchup and I'll let you know what the line is, and you can tell me which way you would be tipping because that's a bit more interesting than just normal tipping. So Port versus Melbourne. Port, the favourites, and the line is 2.5 points. Pilch, are you backing the boys in?
I just want to say I'm probably the most excited for this game that I have been all season. This is a huge game. And Butters is back as well, the most exciting player in the comp and best player of the Super Draft. But I'm going to say Melbourne, just because we can't beat a top 4 team and they're 4-0 against top 4 teams.
Jesus. If I have to say, it's
and because I want to reverse jinx it.
It's a tough one because whichever way it goes, like it's an extreme result for Port. Like if they win, everyone's like on that riding them. If they lose, everyone's abusing them. So
and same with Melbourne too.
Yeah, if Melbourne do lose, everyone will start to put
jump
on
off
the microscope.
Unless it's close, actually.
Yeah, true.
But yeah.
I think I agree with everything Pilch said. I reckon this will be the week Port turn around, so I'm going to jump on Port.
Yeah, I'm going Port.
Appreciate it, Rowie.
I've tipped Port by 6. Essendon versus Adelaide. Essendon are favourites, and the line is 19.5 points. Rowie, what do you reckon?
Jeez.
Essendon.
Pilch?
That's actually kind of a big line.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say Adelaide.
Yeah, I've gone Adelaide, but only by a matter of points. I've predicted Essendon to win by like 15. So, it's going to be very tight. It's a good line, to be fair, to Sportsbet. Well played. Carlton versus Geelong. Geelong, obviously the favourites, and the line is 21.5. Pilch, do you reckon Carlton can make it close or not really?
Nah, I think Geelong cover.
Yeah, Rowie?
I'll go Geelong too.
Yeah, I've got Geelong winning by like 35. I reckon they'll cruise home.
Yeah, Carlton
pretty comfortably. So get that in your multis if you.
Cats upset them last year. To be fair, the famous sort of bet easy game, they raised Geelong's odds to $5. I broke every rule in the system to create like my 5th fake account, and obviously lost another 20. But yeah.
Yeah, I do remember that fateful night, actually. Then next one, another close one, Hawthorn versus Freo at the University of Tas Stadium. Freo favourites just. The line is 3.5 points. I'm going with Freo. Backing them in by 10 points. Rowie, who you got here?
This is a bit of the type of game the Hawks win. I'm going to go Hawks.
Pilch?
In Tassie, yeah. Honestly, I thought the Hawks were dog shit last week against Port, but
they are coached by Clarko.
They are, but they're dog shit. That's far out. These are hard this week. I'm gonna say Hawks. Yeah, Hawks.
Yeah, fair enough.
Actually, no. Freo.
If Freo lose this,
Freo win. I think Freo win.
They deserve to get abused.
I think Freo win, and the line's only 3, so I'm going Freo.
Yeah, that was my thinking, but I definitely can see Hawks winning this. Tassie has been home to a few upsets so far this year. And also, we haven't even addressed the Clarko stuff, but can't really be stuffed. GWS versus the Gold Coast, battle of the... What do they call them? The new teams? The
newbies.
The newbies.
The teams with no fans.
Oh, stiff. GWS are favourites. The line is 16.5. Pilch, do you reckon Gold Coast continue momentum or not?
I know I put GWS in my top 8, but wait, what ground is this at? Ballarat.
Oh, yeah.
Supposedly Ballarat.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. I don't know why.
Okay, no. Far out. No, fuck it. Gold Coast plus 16. I reckon they'll bring it over.
Yeah, I reckon Giants will win, but a close one. So I'd jump onto the Suns line. Can definitely see an upset here, though. I had a very quick chat to Ben King actually at the Saints game. I saw him at the halftime break. I actually rudely forgot to talk about his performance against the Tigers. I sort of more focused on noting the fact Max was doing all right for us out there, but completely forgot the fact that he just absolutely tore Richmond a new one. But good luck to them. I reckon it'll be a close game.
Yeah, I actually always like watching these two teams against other teams, so it'll be good to watch them together. I'm going GWS just. I've got them winning by 20. Doggies versus Sydney.
This is tight.
Doggies favourites. The line's 20.5. I'm going the Doggies. I've got them winning by 4 goals, so I've got them at the line as well. Pilch, what are you backing?
I'm actually going Swannies for the upset here. Just YOLO. They are genuinely
in the line or like head to head?
Both.
Spicy.
The line, but upsets, like good upset sniff. They're genuinely good. They came to the Adelaide Oval, which is always a tough game, and almost knocked off Port, which is a good effort. And then they obviously absolutely obliterated the Eagles last week. And they've always showed up against the good teams this season. So I think they'll turn it up. And they've got all their players as well. All their young boys are back. So,
right.
Huge share, yeah. I'll jump on the Swans line. Not going to go the head-to-head. I'm not quite as ballsy as Pilch there, but definitely the Swans line there, yeah.
Yeah, also, I need to address, how do the Swans win by 90? I did catch Luke Parker's score, and Luke Parker got like 70. It's like, how can the best player get 70 points? He had 30 touches or something. Like, I don't care if you chop. If you're getting 30 in a 90-point win, at least give him 90.
He got 95, but
he's been beautifully then.
He's been doing that all season. That's why I traded him out. He gets 36 touches and then just doesn't even turn up.
I can't complain with the 95, to be honest, because he's not good. But I was going to say, if you got... Because I'm pretty sure pre-scaling he was on like low 70s. But
I swear that's happened to him before, like a few weeks back.
I think because he does chop. Yeah, I think because he does chop on the raw stats, he is usually lower, so they scale him up because he has bulk impact. But this one's actually a very close line, which, like, I know they're in shite form, but I find pretty weird. Collingwood, Richmond are favourites. The line is 8.5. Rowie, what do you reckon?
I never tip against Richmond, so I've got to go the Richmond line.
Yeah, Filch?
Yeah, I'd like to tip Collingwood, but got to go the safe option here and go Richmond.
Yeah, I reckon Richmond come out and whack them. I've got Richmond by 30. And then West Coast, this is Monday night footy, I'm pretty sure. West Coast versus North Melbourne. West Coast are the favourites. The line is 26.5. I've got West Coast winning by 40, so I'm back on West Coast in. North have been competitive recently, though. Pilch, what do you reckon?
Yeah, at Optus, got to go West Coast.
Yeah, full crowd
even at that line. Oh, well then West Coast by 100.
Yeah, like I'm pretty sure their lockdown ends on Sunday night and they're allowed a full crowd on Monday. Could be wrong, but I swear I read that on Twitter. But Rowie, who are you going with?
Yeah, I'll go the Eagles here too.
Yeah, nice. That's why it's on Monday as well. There's a game without a line because it is not known what the venue is yet, and that is Brisbane St Kilda, if that is a game. Yep, that is a game, I believe. I'm tipping Brisbane, obviously. We all tipping Brisbane.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I've got Brisbane by 30.
Saints have a rough run home.
I've got it by 50.
Saints have a rough as run home.
Yeah, that's why I didn't put them in the top 8.
Next 3 weeks are all L's.
Yeah, I know.
There's a couple upset chances though this week. It should be a good round. I reckon, as you boys said, I reckon Hawks over Freo is definitely one to watch, especially with all the news about Clarko this week. Would be true Clarko fashion to come out and just put on a clinic for the boys. Could see Melbourne beating Port as well. That's going to be a huge game, I reckon, because there's a solid chance that they play in the second week of finals. So it could be big psychologically going into that one.
This is one of the games of the year.
Yeah, and Essendon look like they're now consistently good, but I wouldn't write off an Adelaide upset there. I know it's not at the Adelaide Oval or anything, but I would watch that space. Any interesting calls you boys want to make, Rowie?
No, just good luck to all teams, and I just want to see another Toot Miller dominant performance because he's an absolute bull at the moment. I reckon he has the potential to be the best midfielder in the comp, and he's very close to it actually at the moment. But
do you reckon they bring back the ball for him?
It's a very good question actually.
Spicy call.
But I think he'd just run him off his feet. To be honest, I don't think the ball would be able to keep up with him.
If Toot Miller genuinely ran him off his feet, then he would legit be the best mid in the comp.
He's actually the complete package because he's quick. He's anaerobically, but also aerobically fit as well. And he's an absolute
sick pipes as well.
He's actually sexy.
He's
all jokes aside, I saw him at a churro place in Tasmania, and I had a double take. He's a good looking man, especially with full kit on. He knows how to dress.
Yes, to semi.
Yeah.
And he's way better than his missus.
Yeah, well, that's what Rhett said. I didn't stare.
Rhett said.
I'm a good bloke. Yeah, I had a few encounters in Tassie. Was next to him at the churro place, and then we were crossing the lights and looked in a car window, and it was D Swallow just chilling in the passenger seat. But small town, so I guess everyone's just out and about enjoying life. But thanks for joining me today, fellas. More of a casual one, I feel, but enjoyed the redraft and all the other good shit we talked about today. Looking forward. Might try and spice up the structure next week. Might think of some interesting discussion points because it's fun just changing it up. Once again, thanks for your help in the last few episodes, keeping the show going, and looking forward to doing these for the rest of the year. Hopefully back in the rhythm now, and excited for the rest of the season. And yeah, actually very keen for Thursday night, Pilch. Big day for you and the boys. Saints get up against the Lions. It's a good weekend, but we'll see how it goes.
Go Saints.
Go
Saints.
Yeah,
Go Saints. Go Port.
Flag Saints. All right, see you guys.